The East Pomeranian Strategic Offensive Operation was an offensive by the Soviet Red Army against the German Wehrmacht on the Eastern Front. It took place in Pomerania and West Prussia from the 10th of February to the 4th of April 1945. It was the East Pomeranian Offensive that prevented Zhukov from reaching Berlin in February, since it became a priority to clear German forces from Pomerania first. The Second Belorussian Front, under Konstantin Rokossovsky, had initially been tasked with advancing westward north of the Vistula River toward Pomerania and the major port city of Danzig, with the primary aim of protecting the right flank of Zhukov's First Belorussian Front, which was pushing towards Berlin. During the East Prussian offensive, however, Rokossovsky was ordered to wheel directly north toward Elbering. This left substantial German forces intact in Pomerania, where they threatened the right flank of Zhukov's formations. As a result, once the initial phase of the East Prussian offensive was over, the Second Belorussian Front was redeployed with the intention of attacking westwards into Pomerania, eliminating the possibility of a German counter-offensive. The need to secure the flanks delayed the Soviets' final push towards Berlin, which was originally planned for February, until April. Joseph Stalin's decision to delay the push toward Berlin from February to April has been a subject of some controversy among both the Soviet generals and military historians, with one side arguing that the Soviets had a chance of securing Berlin much quicker and with much lower losses in February, and the other arguing that the danger of leaving large German formations on the flanks could have resulted in a successful German counterattack and prolonged the war further. The Germans did in fact mount a surprise counterattack in Pomerania in mid-February, Operation Solstice. The delay did, however, allow the Soviets to occupy significant parts of Austria in the Vienna offensive. As early as the 13th of February, German intelligence services had deduced that the Soviets would seek to clear Pomerania before advancing on Berlin. The Second Army, defending a large and exposed sector running through Pomerania eastward toward the edge of East Prussia at Elbering, sought permission to withdraw, but this was denied by Adolf Hitler. Graudenz, on the Vistula, was surrounded on the 18th of February. The garrison, from the 83rd Infantry Division, finally surrendered the following month. The corps of the Second Army was seriously under strength by this time, being composed largely of fragmentary or ad hoc units. The 3rd Panzer Army had been rebuilt using the corps of the recently formed 11th SS Panzer Army, the original formation having been largely destroyed in Lithuania and East Prussia, where its remnants were now defending Königsberg. Rokossovsky opened the offensive on the 24th of February using the fresh troops of Kozlov's 19th Army, but after an initial advance of some 20 kilometers they were halted by intense German resistance. On the 26th of February, he inserted the 3rd Guards Tank Corps east of New Stettin, where they achieved a penetration of 40 kilometers and relieved Kozlov of command. The 3rd Guards Tank Corps broke through at Waldenburg, while New Stettin on the front's left flank fell to the 3rd Guards Cavalry Corps on the 27th of February. Weiss had hurriedly assembled the 7th Panzer Corps, including the remnants of the 7th Panzer Division, at Rummelsburg to threaten 19th Army's flank. However, after a Soviet breakthrough at Koslin on the 2nd of March, the Second Army found itself completely cut off from the rest of its army group. Zhukov's right wing, a grouping of the 3rd Shock Army and 1st and 2nd Guards Tank Armies, went over to the offensive on the 1st of March. Striking northward with the main force concentrated at Rietz. The entire left wing of 3rd Panzer Army was cut off by their breakthrough. After Guderian refused Rau's request for withdrawal, the right flank withdrew towards Stettin. On the 4th of March, forward Soviet tank units reached the Baltic, and the German forces in Pomerania were trapped in a series of encirclements. The 2nd Army began to fall back on the Danzig fortified area, while the 10th SS Corps of the 3rd Panzer Army had been surrounded at Dramberg. Rokossovsky opened the second phase of his offensive on March 6th. The Second Shock Army threatened to cut off the defending forces in the fortress of Marienburg, which was evacuated 2 days later, while in the East Elbering finally fell on the 10th of March. The defence of Marienburg was conducted by a Kampfgruppe under the nominal control of the staff of the 7th Infantry Division, including Marine, SS and other units. Weiss, having warned that the Elbering pocket could not be held, was relieved of command on the 9th of March and replaced by Dietrich von Sorcken. The troops of the German Second Army withdrew in disarray into Danzig and Gdynia, where the Second Belorussian Front besieged them. Zhukov's forces, meanwhile, cleared the remainder of 3rd Panzer Army from the east bank of the lower Oder, driving the Germans from their last positions in a bridgehead at Altdam. Many civilian refugees from Pomerania had fled into the coastal town of Kolberg, which was surrounded by the 4th of March. Nevertheless, the town was successfully defended until the 18th of March, by which time evacuation was almost complete. The Danzig-Gotenhafen fortified area, also the main port for refugees from East Prussia escaping to the west, was ordered to be defended for as long as possible by Sorcken in order to keep the evacuation routes open. Rokossovsky opened his final offensive on the 15th of March 1945, the main thrust toward the coast at Sopot between Dingen and Danzig being undertaken by the 70th and 49th Army advancing in parallel.